알겠습니다. 1세트 대결을 시작합니다. GSL.
Welcome back to the GSL Code A. We saw Lenok come out over Tails in a very nail-biting 2-1 series. He will go on to face the winner between Vines and Life. And, of course, right now in our final match of the night, we are going to have Polt against TREME, aka Extreme.
Exactly. Extreme was one of the players that really made quite the splash in the last GSTL season when they played against OGS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
He took, I think, 3 games of OGS and defeated one Terran after another. So this is the matchup where he really shined. And, well, Polt is a Terran player. He is obviously the fan favorite here. Very, very strong Terran, but still, it's not going to be easy, or at least he should not take Extreme lightly.
Yeah, it's going to be... I mean, it's something he's prepared for. He's had a ton of time to prepare for this match in particular. I wouldn't say that this is the toughest opponent Polt could ever have, but it's not going to be easy. Extreme is very underrated, I would say. And he's a ZenX player. Those ZenX players, oftentimes, it's hard to explain, really, but the thing is, ZenX players, their team has shifted around a lot. Their team's been a little bit unstable, so it's hard to tell what kind of background they're coming from exactly, but I would say they always do really well. These days, especially, all ZenX players are looking stronger than ever before.
Polt definitely the player that we know a lot more than about Extreme. He has been in foreign tournaments all over the world, not only offline, but already also played a lot of online tournaments. Extreme, on the other hand, is a little bit younger, and he has to prove himself today. Our first snap is going to be in Tomb Valley.
Polt is looking a little bit cheeky in his portrait there. Oh, he was a minute ago. Now he looks normal, but he wasn't even typing anything in the chat, so I don't know what was up with that. He's just looking at a loading screen now. Everything I say no longer applies. We're going to go into our first map, which will in fact be Entombed Valley. Polt versus Extreme here at the GSL Code A with Caldor and Wolf.
To the top left of the map starts our TSL player, the Terran in the red. This is
TSL Port. TSL Port.
Looking smart as usual. He actually took a second year of university in order to focus on his pro gamer career.
Well, that's the amount of money that guy's made. I don't blame him.
At the bottom left, his opponent starting for the ZenX team. Known for his play against Terran, this is
ZenX TREME.
ZenX Extreme. Very focused. I like the simplicity of the ZenX jersey. Extreme actually walling off, which does indicate that he may want to go for a risky Nexus. Because when your opponent pulls their SCVs, sometimes you can wall with just adding a pylon if you add the core and the gateway. And the reason why people stop doing this, well, there's 2 main reasons why people stop walling against Terran. The first one is because in the past, those pushes that you could see with Marauders and Marines earlier, sometimes on 3 barracks, were quite damaging. Sometimes if you caught the core or the gateway with vision on the high ground, you could really hurt the production. Sometimes taking out the core before warp gate research is done. A lot of scary things like that. And also, of course, simply because if you make your gate closer to your Nexus, you lose less mining time. So those are the 2 main reasons. And oh, wants to block a tech lab here.
Yeah, at least tries to, and he scouted a little bit with those probes because he realized, okay, there's already gas, and he knew there would be one barracks, but he didn't know exactly where it was. Polt trying to hide it here, and he's actually building a second barracks now after the probe. He's actually building a pylon here in order to block the add-on.
This is actually so smart because with this, you know no matter what your opponent's doing. If he moves the barracks out of your pylon range, you lose a lot of production. The casters are doing a great job. Both Korean and English casters. Well, thank you so much, and thank you on behalf of the Korean casters, because I bet they think so too. They want to say thank you as well.
I actually know him.
Do you?
Yeah.
Where do you know him from?
He follows me on Twitter, and he told me that he's coming to Korea as well.
I'm hiding. Like.
So here we go, the pylon
cool.
has been cancelled, and now he starts with his first add-on, but as we already mentioned, there is a second barracks that currently the Protoss player does not know about, and there we see the tech lab going down. So I'm not quite sure if Extreme is really ready for this. He has no clue about the second barracks.
Yeah, he's a little bit in the dark right now. The Zealot will put some pressure on, but there's already 2 Marines behind a wall, so not too much to be done here. But with the Stalker and the probe coming up, this could actually be pretty dangerous. He's going to need a bunker, or he's going to have to... This can be very awkward. Unless you attack your own Stalker with a Zealot, that can be even more awkward, actually.
And the thing is, as soon as he shows the Marauder, Extreme will definitely know what's going on here.
Yep. And he's actually getting out there before showing the Marauder. I really like that. I like these hide the Marauder. It's really, really smart by Polt.
Yeah, he has to. As I just said, if he actually shows the Marauder, then he definitely knows, okay, there's going to be a double barracks play. And here comes the Marauder as well. So at this point, he does not really feel uncomfortable with moving out. But we still don't have an expansion for his opponent.
And also, something to really consider is that he skipped concussive shells to get faster Sim, which means Sim is going to be significantly faster, but he's not going to have concussive shells. That's why we saw those units escape so easily. We're just seeing right now Extreme getting a later Nexus. He's going 2 gates with a Robo, and this is a very safe build against what Polt is doing, but it hurts his economy a little bit to do this.
None of those 2 players is now opting for a second base. We have the factory in a proxy position here.
This is so cool because normally when people 2-racks these days, since this is no longer, a year ago when people were doing it as a standard build, especially outside of Korea, people go with siege tanks with it. They get aggressive with their bio units. The siege tanks support against sentries, and then they expand. In this case, Polt, I think, may actually use this factory as a forward factory to make siege tanks. The possibility of Banshees is also there, though.
Yeah, he could also just use the factory to scout and build the starport in his main base, another option for him.
That's a good point as well. Very good point, as he already has the reactor on his barracks. He could just make the starport there. There's a lot of different options here, but actually he's going to make a starport right next to the factory.
He proxies the Banshees. Nope, he proxies Medivacs.
That is even more unusual, but I like it. And this is a terrible position for Extreme. He will not be able to hold his Nexus unless he has his sentries there. Okay, the sentries are on the low ground ramp. A lot of energy used there, though.
Yeah, force fields baited, and we've seen Terran players crushing Protoss as soon as those 2 Medivacs are out, and if he hits a timing here when he can just drop onto the high ground, when Extreme does not really expect it, that might win him the game right away, or at least take down the expansion for the Protoss player.
Yeah, this
nice
is not
force fields
good,
here, though.
Yeah,
but he picks off every single sentry, at least 3 of them.
Yeah, this is actually, well, the Immortal is actually critical here because the Immortal will push him back. If he didn't have that Immortal, then when the Medivacs arrived, he would be okay, probably. He'd be able to kind of keep pushing through this with some stims, but now he can't.
There's still no expansion for Polt. He's really playing this off one base. He does not commit to any kind of command center play. He's producing Medivacs, he's producing Vikings and Marines, and he will start to drop here. And so far, this one observer still has no clue what exactly is happening. He only spots the factory, but the factory is only here to get vision onto the high ground, so he's not really tempted to go to the left and spot the starport.
Yeah, and, well, the forward Medivacs is not that important. I mean, it's important that he has these first 2 Medivacs a little bit faster, but other than that, seeing it isn't the crucial thing. Defending it is. And he takes out the Observer, he sees the Medivacs now, and we're going to see an elevator tactic here. Remember, though, there are a total of 4 Stalkers out with 4 sentries to support them, so if the Immortal does enough damage, this is such a stressful situation for Extreme. He has to hold here.
This is one of the positions where he did not expect this attack to come from. There are still units on the low ground, though. A lot of energy already used on those sentries, and now will Polt be able to get in good position here. He's behind in economy already, and that's something that should definitely give him something to think about. The army supply is currently in his favor, but only by a small margin.
Yeah, and he has got to be so careful with his units. Great control by Polt so far, using the force fields against his opponent to get 2 free zealots. Now he's got 4 medevacs, but the army underneath them is not as strong as it could be.
Once again, baiting a force field. He's expanding behind this. He's already dropped his own commands. And
still no concussive shells.
The force fields by Extreme are not bad, but at the same time, he's not trapping anything. He's just trying to force him back here.
Well, with the 3rd Immortal Man, and with this many Zealots, I think Polt's timing window is closing a little bit here, but he does have the Command Center up at home.
I think it's already close, to tell you the truth. With 3 Immortals, if Extreme uses a good unit control here, he will be able to defend. With good unit control, he will target fire those Marauders, and they will just die. But he's trying to drop here.
And there are Stalkers in position.
Is he spotting him? No. The Observer did not spot it, but as you already said, the Stalkers are in position. They're just waiting for those Medivacs to appear.
Yep, and he pulls away immediately. He's not going to try it.
He pulls away.
He pulls away indeed. That was... If they moved instantly, I would have said that was a telepult, but that's not what happened. Forge finishes up here. Now, Polt does not have any upgrades going for his infantry. He's still at 0-0, so his opponent's going to pass him upgrades pretty quickly here. No engineering base, as far as I can tell, either. He does not have those. Okay, he starts one now as I speak.
Both of them now with 2 bases. The War Prism is done, and +1 armor is already, has been started. He's still trying to go up this ramp. Polt is still just posturing around, trying to find an opening here. He doesn't find one. Resources lost is roughly the same, and even though we have a really weird timing for Polt's expansion, he hit the perfect timing. He's a very late timing, but it was I think the latest expansion that can really work for him.
Yeah,
and it works well.
This Warp Prism is spotted by the starport that the Warp Prism itself spotted, and Polt is going to have to react to this. Pylon does fall at the natural, and here we go. 1 Zealot being warped in, but Polt can easily just stim and take it out. Concussive shells are done, in fact, now. Very similar supplies for these players.
Yeah, and the army supply is dead even. It is dead even here. The upgrades are roughly the same. Polt even getting a 3rd base right now as we speak, while Extreme is trying to add the Twilight Council as additional tech. Did he see the Observer? Yes, he did. Scans it and takes it out. Very important here.
This is scary for Extreme, because even though he has 3 Immortals, with this many Medivacs, Immortals become basically useless, and he's going to need some sort of AoE damage or at least Twilight Council upgrades. He's starting with Blink, and with the cannons here, he's going to be able to defend any attacks, but if Polt takes a 3rd, which he is doing right now, there's very little way for Extreme to actually attack him.
Extreme is on the edge here. He uses the Guardian Shield right away. Now finally, great force fields.
Oh my god, look at those force fields. Take a 2nd look and a 3rd one as you watch these Immortals fight Marines, because they can't quite reach the Marauders, but this next attack is going to be scary. He has to stim to retreat.
And Polt is actually evacuating most of his Marines with this 1 Medivac. Really a job well done, but those force fields were spot on.
They were amazing force fields, actually.
The Templar Archive is done now, and while Extreme is going for the Blink upgrade, he might also add Storm very soon. There it is, so that he has at least something of an area of effect spell against his opponent, because he did not start any type of transition into Colossi.
And that fight was a fight he needed to win, because now he has got the ability to take a 3rd base and then be defensive. Well, here we go again. The Zealots coming to the front, but charge is not done.
Then 1 High Templar survives, actually. Very well done here, but Polt is pulling ahead in supply right now.
The cannons are somewhat of a problem for him. They're doing a bunch of extra damage. Another feedback goes off. He makes the Archon as well.
Polt with very intelligent snipes here, takes down sentries and is able to kill a lot of these tech-heavy units of his opponent. We have the techs finishing though for Extreme, while Polt is already capitalizing on his 3rd base that he has. Yeah, he does not really have the same harvester count, but he has the mules.
He needs that Nexus. He needs it, and he hasn't even started it yet. That's the problem. 4 more gates going up for him right now, but they're not going to be easily supported without a 3rd base. Something has gone wrong here. Polt Polt has this, he has an insane economy. He won that small fight when Polt got a little bit too close with great force fields, but he needs to do more. Now he's making the Nexus.
There are actually some Vikings patrolling to the left side of the map, just waiting for a War Prism to arrive. And this is probably what's going to happen. There's one War Prism on the way.
He has Storm, but he does not have any Templars here to fight with. He cannot fight with this army in this position. 5 seconds and he will have a Storm, but he doesn't have it yet. And here we go. 3, 2, no!
The High Templar is dead, and now suddenly Polt is in a better position. His position is actually great. He's moving up the ramp. There are no force fields, no sentries anymore, no storms, no area of effect, no nothing. But with Blink, Extreme can at least save a few of these Stalkers. He's once again trying to make this War Prism happen. But now he's unloading his Zealots. But Polt is in a great position here. He's pulling ahead not only in supply, but in every single aspect of this game.
Yeah, and he's going to engage in a perfect position here at the choke point at the natural, taking out Immortal. After Immortal, one Storm goes off, but he does pull his units away. Probes going down as they transfer. This is terrible for Extreme, and Polt playing a very aggressive opening, rallying his medevacs from a proxied starport, never stopping the aggression, never going home with this army, and eventually Extreme does not have anything to deal with this. Polt took the third, he capitalized on it. Extreme did not have that third, his Storm was late, and this game is so heavily in Polt's favor. He's got a 4th base going up right now. Things are looking pretty bad.
Yeah, indeed they are. A 4th base coming up, as you mentioned, already the Harvester advantage that he has, in addition, of course, the Mules and these units for Polt. He can drop them, he can try to take down the 3rd. There are Medivacs patrolling to the left side, guarding the main base. At the 3rd, we also have a couple of buildings as an early sentry. This is not really working.
No.
The storms are decent now, but they are too late.
And that is less than half of Polt's army. The thing is, Polt is down in upgrades. That's the one advantage that you could argue that Extreme has right now is in upgrades, but in sheer numbers of units, I mean, just mathematically speaking, this is not a fight that he will be able to win.
The Ghost Academy is also finished, so now he can start with the Möbius Reactor to get the first Ghosts into the game. We already have +2/+2 being started for Polt. Extreme, as you mentioned, is ahead in upgrades. He's getting the 3rd armor upgrade, he's getting charge now. But still, Polt with a 4th base and the map control that he has is just he's just really suffocating his opponent.
Yeah, the army supply is 106 to 47. That's basically a 100% advantage there, and the upgrade advantages are not quite as strong for him. And with the amount of damage output that Polt has, it's just insane. He's got a lot of storms available, but Polt can weather those storms.
As you said, this is only half his army, and the other half is now walking across the map towards the bottom left. The 4th base is uncontested so far. Here they come, trying to go in at the natural, but nice storms, great storms by Extreme, finally making good use of his micro, and those storms might actually be a problem for Polt, but he has just too
factory
much.
is a problem, as he cannot even get his units from the other side there, and this army is just too big. The concave is too great. And
even with good storms,
yeah.
you cannot make this work. This is an overwhelming amount of units. The GG by Extreme, inevitable. And Polt takes map number 1.
Many people expecting Polt to take this series. Very aggressive play from him here, starting with 2 racks, then proxying a starport. I like to make this joke, but only QXC does medevacs with 2 racks on 1 base. Actually, I don't even think he does it anymore, but he used to. And, Polt is actually, he played a risk with this one. He was so aggressive, and he never went home with his army. He just sat right outside and kept poking away at Zealot after Zealot. He got a lot of free units. You notice how few units he lost? How good his micro was even when he was elevatoring? And that was really what allowed him to stay in it, because if you lose too many units, you can't replace them off 1 base, whereas your opponent's going to be replacing faster off the 2nd Nexus. But Polt just kept up the attack, never lost too many units, and eventually his expansion, like you said, it came up at the latest possible time to still work. That's exactly what he did.
Extreme, though, made a few mistakes here as well, and you could see after the game that he was a bit, I would say, tense. I think that he's really nervous. It's one thing if you play in the GSL where you have all your friends, where you have your team with you, they can support you, and between the games they will always help you. But playing here right now at Code A, in the booth, you're on your own. You have to play this best of 3. Yes, of course, your coach can come in between the games and, I don't know, give you a hug or whatever you need, but still, this is a different type of scenario. So he seems to be a little bit tense and nervous. Small mistakes here, but I think this is quite understandable given the situation.
It definitely is. Well, we're going into game 2 between Polt and Extreme, a Terran versus Protoss Extreme.